We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and welcome to Dr. Frita Live, where we discuss the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. As always, we have a jam packed, evidence based medical show for you today. We're opening up talking about Dr. Pimple Popper. Yes, Dr. Sandra Lee. She looks healthy. She's super intelligent, right? Well, guess what? Dr. Pimple Popper admits that she ignored her own stroke symptoms. Yes, even a healthy doctor had a stroke. And so we'll talk about it. And then, as we continue with your weekly dose of the trending medical topic, we'll talk about energy drinks. And parents, this is for you. Teens, this is for you. Because your teenager is probably drinking an energy drink that could put your teen's heart at risk. Yes, a 17-year-old honor student cheerleader has passed away, and the family is suing the energy drink company for wrongful death because the coroner said that this teenager's cause of death was an enlarged heart due to stress and an excessive amount of caffeine. You don't want to miss this story. Then we'll get into my favorite game, myth versus fact. Yes, myth versus fact. And we'll talk about K. Michelle. Real Housewives of Atlanta's K. Michelle shares the risk of having BBL butt shots. Yes, silicone injections. And I'll see what you know about it because we'll do myth versus fact. And then we'll get into your second weekly dose and we'll talk about Brandi Glanville, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum. Well, she put garlic in her ear based on a social media trend and ended up needing to go to the ER. So we'll talk about the dangers of these social media health trends and why you need to consult your doctor and don't consult people on social media. Hello? And then we'll talk about Looksmaxing. Do you know what that is? Well, you will before the show is over because it is a social media trend mostly affecting young men. And it's when they go through extreme measures to make sure that their looks are superb, including taking a hammer and beating their cheekbones, their chins, their jawline, so they can have a chiseled look, and taking testosterone, and even taking certain illegal substances, drugs. Yeah, we'll talk about Looksmaxing and what it means. And then we'll talk about Kevin Hart, comedian and actor Kevin Hart. He says no days off when it comes to working out. But is there such thing as too much working out? We'll get into it. Well, of course, you know, we're live. And so you can ask me questions, but hey, guess what? I ask you questions too. So be ready. Go ahead, give us a like and a subscribe as we get started. I'm Dr. Frita. This is Medical Monday, and we're about to have a great educational, fun experience. Let's go. Hello, hello. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. This is Medical Monday. This is Dr. Frita Live. And boy, we're about to have us a good old time. But y'all know I'm not up here by myself. To my office manager and my esteemed co-host, Miss Shador. How you doing, Shador?
Doing good, Dr. Frita. How are you?
Good, good. I hope you had a nice weekend, relaxing. Was there any T-ball involved? What's going on?
T-ball involved. A lot of participation on my little one's end. Exciting, fun, you know.
Good, good. Is he swinging left-handed? Is he swinging?
Yes, swinging left-handed, throwing left-handed. Him and his cousin, you know.
She's left-handed too?
Mm-hmm. They think I coerce the children, but yes.
Wait a minute. Is your brother left-handed? Is her daddy left-handed?
No.
Interesting. Oh, shoot. They're going to be little switch hitters and who knows what. Well, that's fun. That's fun. Well, you know, my week was loaded with basketball. We traveled to Houston for my youngest daughter's basketball tournament, and that was quite a time. And, you know, and for everyone who's a member, y'all, please go check it out because I told y'all how I was acting in the members only video. You'll see. It really brings out a different side of me. Dealing with referees who make me mad, with parents of other teammates who make me mad. I have to really look inward and realize who I am. Because let me tell you something, these tournaments will make you lose your cool, but it ended up being a really good experience. And We got in and I had to pretty much peel her off the mattress because she was so tired. She did not want to go to school this morning. She already missed Thursday and Friday while we were in Houston. So, honey, you got to get your education. So that was that. But yeah, pretty nice weekend. Pretty fun times. Nice week, I should say. Yeah. Let me tell you who did not necessarily have a nice week, at least not at the time that she had this incident. It's going to be Dr. Pimple Popper. But who was the first person in the chat, Shador?
Absolutely. First in the chat was Miss Marina. Hey.
Hey, thank you for being here, Miss Marina. All right. Hey, listen, get that brain ready. You know I'm asking you questions. Let me see what you got.
Absolutely. And our members are here also, Dr. Frita.
Come on in, members.
Our med heads, our residents here. We have Miss Sheila.
Hi, Miss Sheila.
Peace Oasis. Hey, saw you on Dud.
Hey, yeah, listen. Yes, listen, I'm coming straight off of Don Lemon. Thank you. Thank you for being there, Miss Peace Oasis. Yes, I was talking to Don Lemon this morning about, all things medical and some things not. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Miss Rosalind.
Hi, Miss Rosalind.
And Ray Sunshine. Hey.
Ray Sunshine. Listen, thank y'all so much for being members. But if you didn't check it out, I did post a video yesterday, a little Sunday check-in. And I'm gonna see what y'all think. I told y'all how I was up there acting. I'm curious to see what y'all say about my interaction with this parent. Anyway, let's talk about Dr. Pimple Popper, shall we? Listen, a lot of y'all I know watch Dr. Pimple Popper, Dr. Sandra Lee. She's a dermatologist, and she pops some of the most grotesque seeming lesions, and talks about skincare. She has her reality show. And she's relatively young. She's definitely healthy appearing. She's a doctor. She's got all the knowledge. But she shares that she actually dismissed her own stroke symptoms. And so I want to play this clip, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about strokes and stroke prevention.
I was working, I was taping the show, and it's a stressful, long day. At the end of the day, I was feeling crabby, as I usually am, because it's a long day, but I was having trouble swallowing. I had a very restless night, and I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I felt like I was unsteady, but I was going to sleep. I was just trying to sleep because I knew the next day I had to work, right? So the next morning I woke up and I was definitely stumbling. And then just because I went to medical school, and I remember this from medical school, you hold your hands out, and I wanted to see if
I don't know that. What is that?
It's a neuro exam. If you hold your hands out and one hand sort of drifts down, like that's a sign because you have weakness. Yeah. And I was like, is this in my mind? Because I would hold my hands out hard and then I just see this hand sort of like crumble. So it wasn't huge, but it was something. So I went to the ER, and as soon as I told them, like, I'm noticing weakness and I'm stumbling, and my voice was a little bit, I was dysarthric, which means that you have a tough time like enunciating. And so they just swept me right in. There's a window like 4 hours after your first symptom where you can be treated with, like, if you have an ischemic stroke, which means loss of blood to an area, you can be treated where the blood they can increase the perfusion there and, not have long-term effects,
Wow.
So that is really key. And I think that's the important point here for me. Like, even as a doctor, I could recognize these things, but, as a woman being young, thinking like it's not going to happen to you, it was at nighttime for me. Like, I tried to sleep on it, and so I think I missed that window, and that really is key. So I think it's really important. I think there's a lot more people that are getting strokes at a younger age, and one of the main risk factors is high blood pressure, high cholesterol.
So make sure
diabetes.
you're going for your annual.
Yeah,
I'm so pleased that she seems to be doing well. She's speaking clearly. Her mind is good. And I'm especially pleased that she is sharing her story, because I can tell you, as a physician, sometimes you can be a know-it-all and you can intellectualize yourself right out of taking care of yourself. And she admits that she was dismissing her symptoms, even though she had the knowledge. And what I really like is that for some people, they think that being a person at risk for a stroke looks a certain way. Like, you have to be, maybe you look really out of shape, or maybe you're smoking every cigarette you can find, or drinking every bottle of dark liquor, but it's not necessarily that. She looks perfectly healthy. She's young. She's clearly intelligent, and a stroke still happened. Okay. We're not immune. A stroke can happen to any of us. And so I'm going to talk to you about strokes and give you a reminder of the signs and symptoms of a stroke and risk factors. But here's what I'd like for y'all to do for me, med heads. give me a brain emoji in the chat. Give me a brain emoji and tell me, after hearing Dr. Pimple Popper's story, after hearing Dr. Sandra Lee's story, tell me at least one thing that you're going to do differently to take care of yourself, like for stroke prevention or paying attention to the signs and symptoms of your own body. Tell me at least one thing after hearing her story. What kind of light bulb went off? What might you do differently in taking care of yourself in general and specifically, to make sure that you prevent these types of things as possible? So strokes. We know that, strokes definitely you're at high risk for a stroke if you have certain things like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, a sedentary lifestyle. But even if you do everything right, everything quote unquote right, you can still get a stroke. And we're learning now, and as we've talked about on this show, there are more and more young people less than 50, who are getting strokes. And so if you're getting the symptoms of a stroke, please don't think, oh, no, I'm too young, or no, I exercise too much, or no, I don't smoke, it can't be me. The symptoms are the symptoms. The signs are the signs. So make sure you run them in your head. And if you're feeling them, you definitely want to call 911, because time is brain. And after so many minutes, you can lose some nerve cells. Your neurons can actually no longer be alive, and that can cause permanent damage. And so you need to make a decision quickly and not sleep on it, as Dr. Sandra Lee shares that she almost did. So when it comes to strokes, there are two main kinds. There's an ischemic stroke, which is the most common kind, and that's what she described, and a hemorrhagic stroke. Ischemic strokes occur about 87% of the time, whereas hemorrhagic strokes occur about 13% of the time. So I'll start with the least common one, the hemorrhagic stroke. That occurs when you have a brain bleed. Like if you have very high blood pressure, for example, and the pressure causes these tiny blood vessels in the brain to burst, then you can bleed out in the area of a brain. So there's lots of blood there because you're bleeding. It's a hemorrhage, but the blood is not getting to the brain tissue. So the brain tissue infarcts. It's no longer alive. You have a hemorrhagic stroke, a bleeding stroke. So again, that's about 13% of the time. And then for the other 87% of the time, it's what Dr. Pimple Popper had, and that's an ischemic stroke. And that occurs if you have a blockage. And let's look at an image so you can get a really good picture of what an ischemic stroke looks like. All right. So we have different vessels, different arteries that perfuse our brain, right? These different cerebral arteries, and they make sure that we get all the red blood cells, the oxygen, the blood flow to our brain. Well, if you have a clot, as you can see in this image, like a blockage, be it, an atherosclerotic plaque, calcium buildup, if you have a blockage, well, then it's stopping the flow of blood to that portion of the brain. And if that portion of the brain does not get the proper blood flow, then you get a cerebrovascular accident, okay? You get a brain infarct. In other words, that portion of your brain tissue will die, okay? And that's what is the stroke. So depending on where this ischemic stroke occurs, you'll have certain symptoms, which we'll get into. But as she was mentioning, there's a certain window, because if you have symptoms and you catch them in time and say you do have a blockage, like what she described, then there's certain medications you can be given in the ER, certain clot busters, or like these very strong blood thinners that could potentially go in and break up that clot, and you can get perfusion or blood flow to the brain again. So you can imagine, if you ignore the symptoms, sleep on the symptoms, say, hey, maybe I'm just stressed, maybe it's something else, then after a while, that brain tissue is going to be gone. It's going to die, and you'll have some permanent damage. But again, if you act quickly on the symptoms we're going to talk about, and you get to the ER, there's a chance that you can get that clot busting medicine like TPA, and you can actually have a situation where you don't have a lot of symptoms from the stroke. So we're going to talk about the symptoms of a stroke, and then I'm going to see what y'all said about hearing this doctor's story. What does it make you think about differently? What might you do differently, in a situation if you were having symptoms of a stroke? So you recall the signs and symptoms of a stroke. We know them by the acronym B FAST, BEFAST, B FAST. So if you have B, balance issues, E, eye troubles like blurry vision, if you have F, a facial droop or facial weakness, if you have A, arm weakness, like arm or leg weakness, if you have S, slurred speech or strange speech, which is what she was describing for herself, right? then T, it's time to call 911. So always remember, be fast. Don't try to make excuses for it. If it's happening to you, I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you're too in shape to have a stroke, or if you're too smart to have a stroke, or if you eat all the right foods, you're too healthy to have a stroke. You can still have a stroke. So make sure you don't ignore it and that you love yourself enough to call 911 and take care. All right. To my lovely med heads, what did you say? Is anyone is hearing the story coming from a doctor, a young doctor who really knows all about medicine, and she still admittedly ignored her own symptoms of a stroke? Hearing that story, does it make you think about kind of things you can do differently to prevent strokes, or things you might do differently to make sure you protect yourself in this situation?
Well, no one really commented on that aspect of your question, Dr. Frita, but they did comment on, I guess, symptoms or what to watch for as far as the stroke.
Okay, good deal.
Miss Sheila
Miss
says she watches her blood pressure.
Very good. And so that's what I'm talking about. And hearing that you're already doing it, but this just kind of, I guess, reiterates or that you're doing the right thing, watching your blood pressure, because yes, high blood pressure is a leading cause of strokes. And make sure that you can click the link in the description here or go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. I do have a book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. And again, honest to goodness, I have a very special surprise coming up, and I will officially announce it by next week. But you definitely want to check out this book, because if you're able to control your blood pressure, then that's a huge risk factor for strokes that you will already have under control. So very good.
All right. We have the cursor not working right. Keisha, member Keisha. Hello.
Hi, Keisha. Thank you for being on.
Get more sleep.
Getting more sleep, that's key. For most adults, it's recommended that you get anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Not having enough sleep can set you up for stress, increased cortisol, and potentially increase your risk for strokes. So yes, getting more sleep is another great way for stroke prevention. Very good.
Peace Oasis says sleep and decrease caffeine.
Oh, and we're going to get into that on the next story. So always consult with your doctor on how much caffeine is too much for you. But if you're someone who's very sensitive to caffeine, if you have cardiac issues, heart issues, if you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, then caffeine, or at least a lot of caffeine, might not be proper for you. We're about to get into that and the potential dangers of caffeine, especially for kids. So hold on to that thought. Peace, Oasis.
All right. Ms. Rosalind, she says to watch body movement, weakness, and numbness would be signs.
Yes. So paying attention to those signs and symptoms. So yes. So body movement. So like if you have an arm weakness, leg weakness, you're not able to move properly, walk properly, facial drooping, facial numbness. So just really paying attention to the signs of your body and not ignoring them, right? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Cheryl says the hand test.
That hand, I was happy she shared that, because we don't talk about that much. And that goes toward the arm or leg weakness. Because as she mentioned, it's subtle. She put her hands out and she was trying to hold them, but that one that was affected by the stroke was drifting down. She said it was subtle. So I thought that was excellent for her to share. So after hearing her story, that's something that changed with you. Now you know to hold your hand out, and if one is drifting down, something's going on, very likely neurologically. You need to get to the ER. That's a good one. Yes, that is something new that she brought to the forefront. Good.
All right. Tania added you can exercise to help avoid the strokes.
Right. That's definitely part of stroke prevention, making sure you get exercise. And remember, according to the American Heart Association, it's recommended that most adults get at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise in per week. So that's about 30 minutes, 5 times a day. That's going to help with blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, stress, and that will decrease your risks for strokes. But even in doing that, pay attention, because it doesn't mean that you're exempt from getting strokes. Very good.
All right. And then I have 2 questions regarding this, Dr. Frita. This is from the Flower Lady.
Hi, Flower Lady. I like that.
She says, I take blood pressure medications. Am I more at risk for a stroke?
No. The short answer is no. Because we know by far high blood pressure is one of the leading causes of stroke. If you're taking blood pressure medications, then the whole point is for them to lower your blood pressure, right? And so that's going to decrease your risk for a stroke. So make sure that if you're having some side effects from the blood pressure medications, or if you just don't like them, consult with your doctor. But definitely, I don't want you to think that the blood pressure medication in and of itself is what's putting you at high risk for a stroke. the blood pressure medication is helping to prevent high blood pressure because high blood pressure puts you at the greatest risk for strokes.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. Rosalind,
Hi, Ms. Rosen.
she asked, does it have to include symptoms or all the symptoms?
No, I'm glad thank you for that question. No. So you don't have to go through and say, okay, I got the B, the E, the F. Oh, I don't have the A and the S. It's not me. No, I don't care if you have one symptom. Okay. If you have one symptom, then go ahead and consult with your doctor. Certainly if you have two, that's going to increase the risk, but you don't have to have the B, E, F, A, and the S. No. If you just have blurry vision, double vision, call 911. If you just have slurred speech, call 911. If you just have facial weakness, call 911. It does not have to be all symptoms. Thank you for that question.
All right, and then one more from Candace with a K.
Hey, Candace.
Is there a cure or anything else or anything close to a cure that we can do to prevent a stroke?
Well, we have all the prevention that we've talked about, managing your blood pressure, also making sure that you manage your blood sugar, try to prevent having diabetes, or if you have it, make sure you manage it well, doing things to try to control high cholesterol. So again, with exercise, with diet, with, eating high fiber foods, with, eating foods that are high with omega-3s, like things like salmon, things like that. So we have different ways of trying to prevent. As far as a cure for a stroke, the prevention is going to be your best cure. But if you're talking in terms of treatment, is what I mentioned. If you're having a blockage or ischemic stroke, like what Dr. Sandra Lee, Dr. Pimple Popper had, then the treatment is going to be using the clot buster or TPA, that very strong blood thinner. That's going to be the treatment. But if it gets to the point where you have actually had the cerebrovascular accident, or you've actually already had the stroke and the brain tissue has gone, like it's infarcted, it's dead, there's no actual cure. But what you do is you manage symptoms, and you do different neurological, physical therapy, and you really just pray and hope that you can get some of the neurological losses back. Okay, which can happen. I've seen people who've had strokes and they've had bad facial droops and really a lot of weakness, and we put them in physical therapy in neurological recovery centers, and over time many of them can get a lot of the symptoms back, but not always, and you don't always get all of the symptoms back. So prevention is going to be the best cure. And then of course, if you do actually start to get symptoms, early intervention, so paying attention to balance issues, eye troubles, blurry vision, facial drooping, arm weakness, leg weakness, slurred speech, strange speech, time to call 911.
Yes, Dr. Frita. And I remember Ms. Rosalind, she said, my brother had bleeding stroke on brain. He is a living testimony. Critical ICU for months, lost activity left side, but now is walking, talking, and driving, and is had retired early back in 2024.
Wonderful. And you just answered the question. Even in cases like I'm happy to hear that. And thank you for sharing. Even in cases like your brother, where you're witnessing the neurological effects of devastation, that doesn't mean that's the end all. With rehabilitation, many patients can get it back. And the key is, as you get it back, you have to continue doing the work, making sure the blood pressure is managed, blood sugar is managed, and listening to your body. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Good. All right. Make sure you please go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe if you haven't. And for those of you who are new to me, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I have been quadruple board certified. I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I'm a kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. I have also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity medicine. And so I love to read about a lot, learn about a lot. I literally read medical journals and articles every single day. No exaggeration. I love to learn. More importantly, I love to share. And so right here on the Dr. Frita channel, where we have over 979,000 subscribers, y'all come on and help us. Give us a subscribe. Help us get to 1 million. But here we literally have hundreds of videos where I give you evidence-based medicine. Okay, I have a lot of content that's not super long. I give you evidence-based medicine in a way that's easy to understand, so that when you go and you see your doctor, when your loved one sees, his or her doctor, then they're able to ask questions, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and it gives you a better understanding, a better way to prepare yourself even before you walk into the doctor's office, on how to make sure that you're not overlooked, and it helps to close some health disparities. So make sure you share this. Those of you who are right now here watching us live, please go ahead and give us that like, give us that thumbs up, and share. Share it in your WhatsApp, share it in your group chat, share it on your email list, share it from the mountaintop. Let people know that we're here and we're giving evidence-based medical information. All right. Now, this next story actually, it actually really breaks my heart, because there was a teenager doing what a lot of teenagers do, doing what my teenager asks me to do, and I tell her no, and that is drinking energy drinks, okay? This young lady, Miss Larissa, was a 17-year-old cheerleader. She was an honor student, beautiful girl, and she drank energy drinks a lot of days. Her family shares. And the energy drink that she was drinking specifically was called Alani Nu, and it had 200 milligrams of caffeine in each serving. Well, she passed away. She passed away. And according to the medical examiner, according to the coroner, she had an enlarged heart due to stress and over a consumption of caffeine. And so let's go ahead and watch this clip. And then when we come back, I'll talk to you about caffeine. Is caffeine dangerous, and what it means to have an enlarged heart?
The family of a Texas teenager is blaming an energy drink for the cheerleader's death. The family of that 17-year-old is suing the drink's distributor for wrongful death.
They say their daughter died from an enlarged heart and say it was caused by drinking large amounts of caffeine, and they want her death to be a warning to others.
This was the senior year for high school student Larissa Rodriguez.
Her goal was to go to law school. She had already been admitted to UT undergrad, amongst 20 other schools.
The 17-year-old cheerleader and student council president passed away in October. Her family's lawyers now announcing her cause of death. They say it was an enlarged heart because of excessive caffeine consumption.
Medical examiner did not say in her report that she died because she drank caffeine that day. It's because the continuous drinking of caffeine.
They said in the year leading up to her death, she had picked up a habit of drinking Alani Nu energy drinks. The drinks became such a part of her life that even her homecoming proposal was Alani themed. While the cans do have a label that says the drink is not recommended for children, the lawsuit claims the drinks were defectively designed, marketed, and had inadequate warnings about the serious cardiac risks that excessive caffeine can cause.
There's no warnings. There's nothing on there that says, hey, if you drink this, you're going to be overstimulating your heart.
Glazer's beer.
All right, let's talk about caffeine here. But first, to my med heads, I want you to please put a coffee cup emoji, put a coffee emoji in the chat and tell me. So you see that the family is suing the distributor of this Alani Nu for wrongful death. But you tell me this, is it the energy drinks company's responsibility to put stronger, more visible warning labels about things like caffeine and the risks of caffeine in children? Is it their responsibility to put stronger labels on these drinks? Or is it the parents' responsibility to monitor their kids? Again, the family of this young Larissa, they're suing the energy drink distributor for wrongful death. Is it the company's responsibility to put stronger, more visible labels on something that's such a beautiful and attractive can for a kid? Is it their responsibility to put a stronger label on there? Or does the responsibility fall on the parents? I'm really curious to see what y'all say. Give me a coffee emoji. Now let's talk about caffeine, because it's important. We're talking about it in this young teenage girl, Larissa, who was student council president, cheerleader, honor student, just bright future. But we know that not only do teenagers drink caffeine and energy drinks, but so do a lot of adults, right? So let's talk about caffeine, and is caffeine dangerous? Listen to this. Caffeine is a DRUG. A lot of people don't realize that. It is a psychoactive stimulant. In fact, it is the most widely used DRUG in the world. Okay, so let's just start there. It is, okay, it's a psychoactive stimulant. And here's how caffeine works. We all have adenosine receptors. We have them on our brains. We have them on our hearts. We have them on our kidneys. Adenosine receptors. And when the adenosine receptors are met with adenosine itself, it causes things to slow down. So for example, if you have adenosine receptors on your heart, and then the adenosine attaches to those adenosine receptors, then your heart will slow down. Okay, you'll have a slow heartbeat. If you have those adenosine receptors on your brain, and then the adenosine attaches to the adenosine receptors on your brain, you'll get a little sleepy. Okay, you'll go in slow motion, baby. Slow motion, baby. And then same thing with the kidneys. If the adenosine attaches to the adenosine receptors on your kidneys, you're not going to make all that much urine, relatively speaking. But caffeine actually blocks adenosine receptors, and it keeps adenosine from being able to attach. So in the heart, for example, when you drink an Alani Nu drink and you have those 200 milligrams of caffeine, and if the caffeine attaches to the adenosine receptors, it's going to block the adenosine. And so instead of your heart being slow, you'll get a really fast heart rate. And you can even possibly get heart arrhythmias, palpitations, right? Same thing with the brain. Again, if adenosine attaches to the adenosine receptors in the brain, you'll get drowsy. But if you have caffeine and the caffeine attaches to the adenosine receptors, now you're awake, you're ready to go, you're ready to move, okay? All right, does that make sense? And then with the kidneys, if the adenosine is blocked by caffeine and caffeine attaches to adenosine receptors in the kidneys, you'll use the restroom a lot. Have you ever noticed that? If you drink a lot of caffeine, you have to run and urinate. So this is how caffeine works. Well, in the heart specifically, if you have too much caffeine, it can lead to negative side effects, right? So you can get heart palpitations, you can get heart arrhythmias, you can even get high blood pressure, and ultimately you can get cardiomyopathy if you're ingesting too much caffeine. And so when we talk about enlarged heart, I know when we talk like in a social sense, oh, she's really sweet, she has a big heart. Oh my gosh, she has a huge heart, a heart of gold. Well, in the actual physical body, if someone has an enlarged heart, it's actually not a good thing. It's not a good thing, because if you have a stretched, enlarged heart, that means that the musculature is stretched in a sense where your heart is no longer able to pump properly, and it can put you at risk for abnormal heart rhythms or arrhythmias and sudden cardiac death. And this young lady, Larissa, had an enlarged heart, and her death was reportedly by the coroner, the medical examiner, heart related. So I know y'all are probably thinking, okay, people drink energy drinks all the time. What's the big deal? Maybe this girl was just sick, but there is a such thing as too much caffeine. And yes, caffeine can be dangerous. Now, if you have it in moderate amounts and small amounts, clearly, we see all these different coffee shops all over the place, and we don't have people falling out. So in modest amounts, most people do okay with caffeine. It even can potentially have some benefits. But let's focus on, when is caffeine dangerous for you? Well, one, if you have some pre-existing medical conditions, like if you're predisposed to heart disease, of course, but also if you are a pretty healthy person and you just drink too much. So how much is too much? Well, according to studies, for most adults, it is recommended that we have no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. Okay. And so the average cup of coffee, like 8-ounce coffee, will have about 100 milligrams of caffeine, but it's not a perfect science. It could have 140 milligrams of caffeine. And if you're around here getting extra shots of espresso, that number could go up, right? But the average cup of coffee has about 100 milligrams of caffeine. And so if you're drinking 4 8-ounce cups of coffee, not super strong coffee, then you're probably right at that 400 milligrams. But it's different for kids. For kids, it's recommended that they have no more than 2.5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of caffeine, and no more than 100 milligrams of caffeine per day in kids ages 12 to up to 18. No more than 100 milligrams of caffeine a day. And as it was stated, according to the family, this young Larissa was drinking Alani most days, it sounds like. So that means if she's drinking even 1 can of Alani in a day, she's already had at least twice as much as the recommended amount of caffeine. And clearly in her case, at least according to the medical examiner, her enlarged heart was caused by excessive caffeine. So that being said, I'll tell you, and I want to hear what you have to say about this caffeine, and is it the responsibility of the company? Because if you look in some little tiny writing, it's reported, it does say that this product is not meant for kids. Also, this product is very well lit, it's bright, it's colorful, of course, that will attract the teenager. And to my knowledge, Alani Nu is not exactly locked up. I guess if you go to liquor stores, 17-year-olds can go in there and it's not locked up. But in the case of Alani Nu, it's not illegal for a child to purchase Alani Nu. So you tell me, med heads, is it the responsibility of Alani Nu, the distributors, these companies, is it their responsibility to be stronger in their labeling of drinks as far as the potential dangers of caffeine in kids? Is it their responsibility, or are we all responsible for monitoring our own kids? Okay. Not a right or wrong answer, I don't think. What do they say? What y'all say?
Yeah, I don't think so. So shout out to newest member, Miss Ebony, who's very active.
Thank you for joining. Ooh, you out there talking. What you got to say?
She says, the parent, I was worried about this with my 18-year-old who tries to treat her ADHD with Red Bull during testing days.
Let me tell you something. I want you to come to the front of the class because you just made me think about something. And I have a 15-year-old who is very intelligent. But here's one thing, and you probably find this with your kids too, if you're like me. Kids don't understand that intelligence and wisdom are not the same thing. Okay. My daughter thinks that just because she's, super smart, straight A student, that she knows everything when she comes and presents her cases, like about drinking energy drinks because all the other kids are doing it. But here's you mentioned something that's really crucial about ADHD. Not only is having excessive amounts of caffeine dangerous for kids, but a lot of kids are mixing these high amounts of caffeine with other substances, which could cause exponential damage. One of those substances, ADHD medications like Adderall, or Addy as the young kids call it. Adderall, like caffeine, is a stimulant. And Adderall, like caffeine, especially if used in high amounts or in conjunction with another stimulant like caffeine, can increase your risk for cardiomyopathy, abnormal heart rhythms, high blood pressure. And so if you have a child with ADHD who is on a stimulant like Adderall and they want to mix it with a energy drink, then that's causing potential exponential damage. And that's a no-no. And a lot of kids are doing it, right? They want to stay awake for their exams and they want to be focused on the Adderall. So I'm glad you brought that up. It is a no-no to mix these energy drinks with Adderall, especially in kids. Also, some kids will, oh gosh, you know what? They offer this at clubs. Not that I'd be at clubs, but anyway, don't judge me, judge yourself. But at clubs, they will offer Red Bulls mixed with vodka, Red Bulls mixed with alcoholic beverages. Well, that can also cause exponential heart issues. High amounts of alcohol can put you at risk for cardiomyopathy, like a dilated cardiomyopathy, abnormal heart rhythms. So imagine mixing alcohol with energy drinks with high caffeine. That's another thing that could increase your risk. So thank you for bringing that up, Miss Ebony. Thank you for being a member, and keep telling that lovely 18-year-old no on the energy drink, especially mixing it with Adderall. That was a real good point. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Member Keisha says both the company and the parents.
Okay, so you don't think the responsibility is flat on one person. So, and that's probably just about where things are going to fall, but I'm just curious to know exactly. So the company does have a warning label, right? But as with many companies, and I'll take Alani Nu out of it, although y'all saw that a can is pink, it's got that pretty turquoise, it's very attractive, and it would be very attractive to a child, right? And if you're a parent and you're not, listen, parents, honey, we have all kinds of things on their mind. So if you're a parent who is not really necessarily medically paying attention all the time, if you're not a med head, if you're not on here watching with us, then that could slip you see a child come in with this fruity looking drink, this pink and nice little cute bottle, and you see her have them every day. You might be thinking, well, if it were dangerous, they wouldn't sell it just over the counter to kids, right? You might think that. Some parents might think that. And so I recommend that parents not think that. And yes, there is some responsibility on the kid. But that being said, for the companies, they hire marketing geniuses, right? They know what products are attractive to children versus what products are not. That's why, when we go all the way back, Big Tobacco, how some of the original advertisements for those Camels cigarettes, it was a cartoon, Joe Camel. Who likes cartoons? Kids. And even the vapes, like the Juuls. Originally, you had these kind of cool kids, or maybe they were in their 20s, maybe they were technically adults, the models, but they were very youthful, very attractive to what a teenager would want to be like, right? And so there's no question in my mind, and with some of these bubblegum flavors of vapes and all that kind of stuff, even if they had a warning label saying, oh, vapes are not for kids, the marketing was attracting children, okay? And it has been found, in different cases that when the marketing, when it's attractive to children and really targeted towards children, a lot of these companies have been found guilty or told that you can't market things like that. So, are energy drinks going to be forced to just kind of have some black and white unattractive marketing? Are you going to have to be 18 or older to buy energy drinks? I don't know, but I do agree with you. The responsibility is not on just one or the other. But I will say, parents, we have to watch our kids, and kids are sneaky too. And so a lot of it is going to be not just looking and monitoring, checking your kid's bag, but having open conversations. And so make sure as you like this video, you also share this. And you know, I'll do you one better. I have a short, and if it's not there already, I'll make sure that I have it. You know, it is there. I have a short right here on the YouTube channel and on my other social media platforms. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. I give you different things, different places. But I have a short where you'll be able to see where I go through this in a very specific, very kind of condensed manner, a way that's easy to share with your team, easy to share with other parents, so they actually understand why teenagers should not be drinking excessive amounts of caffeine. Real good. Anyone else?
Absolutely. Miss Rosalind.
Hi, Miss Rosalind.
She says, as a parent, I would say both. All products should address side effects like medication.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But also, even though I come up here and I'm up here preaching from the mountaintop, we can't watch everything, parents, right? And so it takes a village, because just like with my daughter, and I'll tell you, I've told her every time, oh, I want energy drinks. No, I need this, that. I've told her no a million times. And after the story came out, I presented it to her. I said, I know I've been telling you no for energy drinks. I said, but have you been getting energy drinks? She's like, well, I had one. And an adult who was responsible for her care is the one who bought her the energy drink, and her little tail drank it, even though I had told her no. A different adult bought it for her. And it probably had 200 milligrams, and that was her time drinking it. But my point is, did I freak out? Parents, don't freak out. Listen to what I say. Don't listen to what I do. I didn't freak out. But what I did was I explained to her, because it's a reminder. We say it's the responsibility of the parents. I did my part. I told her little tail no, but kids are still going to have access. And so it's important not just to say no, just to be telling them no. Break it down and explain to them why you're doing what you're doing. And tell her, like I have to tell my child, she thinks she's so smart. Intelligence and wisdom are not the same. Being smart and have lived experience, it's not the same. These kids think they know it all. They think they're the best that ever did it. They're not. So make sure your kids know that too. You don't have to, shake your head like I did. You can be nicer about it. But all right. Anyone else?
Yeah, some more members. Miss Deidre says, I believe they should put stronger warnings on the labels, and parents need to limit what their children are drinking.
I agree. So y'all are looking at shared responsibility. I'm going with y'all on this one, because if you have it in little microscopic writing, not safe for kids, I think more needs to be done. Just as much as you have for the Alani Nu, they have the bright, colorful, pretty, flowery, floral, all that stuff, perhaps in a big yellow neon, not for children. Not, children must have this under supervision of adults, and that will at least make the kid even think twice, perhaps. Yeah. And certainly if a parent sees that, they might be like, wait, what's this you got? What are you drinking? But yeah, I think there's a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry this happened to this little girl. Yeah.
This member, Ray, says, I believe the parents are responsible. There are warnings out there about the consumption of caffeine.
Yeah, there are warnings. There are warnings, but you got to admit, right, as we're sitting here talking about it, just like my daughter, if I told her no, her would tell, it was an adult who gave it to her, right? A lot of times, like we see coffee everywhere, even like on the trip. I told you I just got back from Houston. My kid in the airport with her other, basketball teammates. Oh, we're going to run to Starbucks and and if you are a parent, you're not always saying, okay, well, are you getting a shot of espresso? How many shots of espresso? Did you have a cola earlier? We have so many things on our plates, right? Yes, it's our responsibility. It takes a village. So it would be helpful if a company knows good and well, they know this research, and I guarantee you that company knows the research, then I do believe they have shared decision making. So I'm really curious to see what the judge determines in this case, in this lawsuit.
I do have one question revolving around this, Dr. Frita. This is from Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
She says, well, if your child has asthma and uses an inhaler, could their medication be a problem if mixed with these energy drinks?
That's a very interesting question. Okay, so let's talk about asthma, and let's talk about the medication. So when you say inhaler, you're most likely talking about albuterol, right? That's a beta agonist. It's the inhaler that helps to relieve the asthma symptoms, and it works by causing the breathing tubes, the bronchioles, to dilate. Okay. Ooh, you got my brain thinking. That's a good question. So, albuterol, the beta agonist, yes, it helps to open up the lungs, open up the lung tubes and make you breathe better. But guess what? The other side effect is of albuterol. And anyone who has a kid who's been on albuterol, you know this. One, it can make your child hype. Okay. Any of y'all have kids on albuterol? You give them the albuterol and they're bouncing off the walls. They're bouncing off the walls. Yes, that can happen. It can also cause your child to have a low potassium, so you have to be careful. But here's another potential side effect of that inhaler, the asthma inhaler albuterol. It increases your child's heart rate, okay? It can cause your child to have a fast heartbeat. So now, combine 200 milligrams of caffeine in a kid, knowing that the absolute maximum for children should be 100 milligrams a day. So if you have a child who's doing an energy drink, plus a child who's on albuterol, the caffeine will speed up the child's heart rate. The albuterol will speed up the child's heart rate. And so now we've answered the question together. Yes, that could potentially intensify a side effect of cardiomyopathy in your child. That is a good question. You come right up to the front of the class because I wasn't even thinking about that until you took me back. I had to go down to the physiology of things. Real good point. Dang, I love my med heads. Y'all be sharp. All right. What else we got? So in conclusion, just rest in peace to Larissa. You know, a life well lived, a life just getting, started. And certainly I do appreciate the family and my condolences to them, because who wants to outlive a child? No one, and all her friends who are going to miss her. Again, she was president of student council. She was an honor student. She was a cheerleader. Just seemed like a sweet little girl, with her whole world ahead of her, had already been accepted into college. I hate that she has passed away. As always, when we get stories like this in the headlines, we take that information and we use it so that we can learn and live our healthiest and happiest lives. So please make sure you share this story. And again, you'll be able to find my short burn content here on YouTube and on my other social media platforms as well. I'm at Dr. Frita on all social media platforms. You'll be able to find this story that I posted this past week and share it with your teenagers and with the adults. And all right. Y'all, make sure you give us a like, make sure you give us a subscribe. And for those of you all who, yes, you enjoy looking at our lovely faces, Shador and me here, but maybe you just want to hear our voices and so you can multitask and do other things. Guess what? We got something for you. We do have a podcast, Healthy Happy Life podcast with Dr. Frita, where I give you evidence-based medical information right here on the podcast. And so you can listen while you do other things like fold the laundry, walk the dog, do your exercise. You can listen and learn while you multitask, while you're on a road trip to Houston, so you can yell at parents and referees on the AAU team when they sit up there and let these other girls elbow your child and they don't call flagrant fouls. You can listen to the podcast while doing that. So make sure you check out our podcast and give us 5 stars, if you will. Please and thank you. All right. Now it's time for my favorite little game. We'll keep this thing moving. Myth versus fact. Myth versus fact. Listen, y'all know Real Housewives of Atlanta has a new star in town, K. Michelle. But of course, she's not new to the scene. We met K. Michelle on Love and Hip Hop. We know that K. Michelle was a FAMU graduate. And y'all know my oldest baby is at FAMU, Florida A&M University. She was actually Miss FAMU, K. Michelle was. She got a scholarship for yodeling, okay? So it's funny. She's, does a lot of country music and people think, oh, what's a Black girl doing country music? What's going on? Yeah, she got her scholarship in yodeling. And so now she's got, country album. And just this in 2024, she was singing at the Academy of Country Music Awards, okay? Looking beautiful as ever, about to perform. Well, listen here. Right before she went on stage, her seat got completely wet. She said her butt was so numb she didn't even feel it. But what happened was that her butt leaked due to a prior complication of a BBL, Brazilian butt lift, okay? And so let's go ahead and let's watch this clip, and then we'll play my favorite little game, Myth versus Fact, as we talk about the truth about BBLs and silicone butt shots.
Yesterday, I went from the red carpet and billboard and the record label, being on stage, to now an open wound. I'm not dying, am I?
No, you have an opening like where you previously had surgery. It looks like you have an infection.
I was preparing for the Academy of Country Music performance. I'm sitting there minding my business and I stand up. The whole couch is soaking wet. I didn't feel anything. I was completely numb. I was standing there in a bathroom. Everyone was blow drying me down. It was very frantic just to get me on stage to sing. I didn't know what was going on with my body or my health until I even got back to the room in Nashville. I did that to myself.
All right. Myth versus fact. So yeah, K. Michelle has been very open. Back in 2012, she had butt shots with silicone. Okay. So that's illegal, by the way, to have silicone injected into your butt. That's not a legal form. But she said that a lot of people in Hollywood were getting it done. She's talking about high-end people, well-known people. And she had it done, I believe, in a hotel room by someone who was not a doctor. And fast forward, she's had multiple complications from those silicone butt injections. So now let's go ahead and play this game, myth versus fact. I'm going to give you a statement, and you tell me if you think it's a myth or a fact. All right.
All right, statement one. As long as the silicone used in cosmetic injections is medical grade, the procedure is relatively safe. The real danger only comes from industrial grade materials.
Put an M1 if this is a myth, an F1 if this is a fact. All right, myth versus fact, statement number two.
If silicone remains in the body, treatment may focus on controlling damage rather than fully removing every bit of material.
Put an M2 if this is a myth, an F2 if this is a fact. All right, medheads, y'all so smart. Let me see what y'all say. Let's go. Let's go to statement number one. What did they say, Shador?
Yes, ma'am. As long as the silicone used in cosmetic injections is medical grade, the procedure is relatively safe. The real danger only comes from industrial grade materials.
Now I'm curious what y'all say.
A little bit of a mixed bag here, Dr. Frita. We have Marina says a myth.
Okay. So you don't care if it's medical grade, industrial grade. You don't think silicone needs to be in the body. All right, Marina, I hear you. Okay.
Ivy says it is a myth.
A myth. Okay.
Miss Sheila said it is a fact.
A fact. As long as it's medical grade, you think it's okay. Okay.
Yolanda says a myth.
A myth. You don't give it rip, rap, whatever. You don't think it should be injected. All right.
Miss Aileen says a myth.
A myth. All right. Hi, Miss Aileen.
Sophie says it's a fact.
A fact. If it's medical grade, you think that could be okay. Okay.
And Angela I says a myth.
A myth. Hi, Angela I. Ooh, that's good. Y'all know I love it when we have a mixed bag, because that means there's a great place for learning, for education. And I always understand when it's a mixed bag, because that's the point. I done tripped y'all up a little bit. All right. Read it again for me, Shador, please.
As long as the silicone used in cosmetic injections is medical grade, the procedure is relatively safe. The real danger only comes from industrial grade materials.
This is a myth. This is a myth. It doesn't matter if it's industrial grade. It doesn't matter if it's something that's meant for to be used for a truck, to be used for a machine, or if it's actually something that's been FDA approved in medical grade. Silicone is not actually FDA approved to be injected into your butt, period, or into soft tissue. The place where the medical grade silicone is FDA approved, it's in certain ophthalmological procedures, certain eye procedures, okay? Then there's silicone that has been medical grade and approved. But regardless, medical grade or not, it's always illegal and not FDA approved to have silicone injected into your butt or your thighs or your cheekbone or anywhere else where people tell you they want you to enhance. So that's important to know that FDA approval is not for butt injections. Yep. And so, and I'm realizing now that's not well known, but now you know, butt shots illegal across the board. And please don't go to Turkey to get them done. Please don't go to Mexico. Okay. no es un buena idea. Es un mala idea. Okay. All right. Myth versus fact statement number 2, please.
All right. If silicone remains in the body, treatment may focus on controlling damage rather than fully removing every bit of material.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, what say you, med heads? What you got? What you got?
We have Courtney says a fact.
Okay.
It's me, KT says it is a fact.
Hey, it's me, KT.
Adrian agrees that it is a fact.
Okay.
Thrilla says a fact as well.
Okay.
Happy says it's a fact.
Okay.
So I'm missing here somewhere. Knick-Knack agrees a fact.
Okay. I Knick-Knack.
Oh, there we go. Ms. Rosalind says it's a myth.
Okay. Ms. Rosalind, she said, get all the silicone in my body. Bump it. Uh-huh.
Miss Ebony says it's a fact as well.
Okay.
And Candace with a K says myth.
A myth. Okay. She said, get that silicone out of me. Okay. Well, this one is actually a fact. Because here's the truth of the matter. Sometimes once that silicone starts off in one place, it can spread quite a bit and it becomes like a hunting mission that is almost impossible to get every little piece of silicone out in a lot of cases. And so you focus on mitigating the damage. So in a lot of cases, your body's immune system will react to the silicone. And so sometimes, or oftentimes, the doctors focus on that. Oftentimes, the silicone will precipitate or lead to an infection. So the doctors focus on treating the infection. Sometimes they'll lead to autoimmune disease. Doctors focus on that. Kay Michelle has shared that she had at least 13 procedures starting in 2017 to remove silicone and or do corrective surgeries. And there's one point where she had some imaging done. And even though the butt shots of silicone, those were done in her buttocks, of course, down in her leg, she was seeing silicone. And so, there's an attempt to remove silicone as you can, but really you focus on the life-threatening, life-altering complications of the silicone. You get the silicone as you can, but it's often not even a realistic goal to be able to get all the silicone because it can spread. Okay, so that was a good one. Thank y'all for participating. Make sure you give us a like. That's so important. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. And also listen, y'all, I got a treat for you beyond this show that we're doing. And I'll have it in the description. You can also get it at drfrita.com, my one-stop shop. Listen, I have a freebie. I have a free PDF download, 10 healthy habits for a better you and a better life. Here is where I share the healthy habits that I use from day to day in trying to live my healthiest, happiest life. So I'll talk to you about things like exercise, drinking lemon water, kind of mental ways to make sure you don't get yourself down, you don't stress. And I present it in a way that's very simple, but it's quite far reaching in the way that it can really help you to lead your healthiest, happiest life. And so if you click the link in the description, or again, go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com, you'll be able to download this PDF for free. Please. Thank you. You're welcome. De nada. All right. Y'all, let's go on to our second dose of weekly medical trends and medical headlines and celebrity health news. Let's talk about Brandi Glanville. Y'all know her. She is a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum. She'd be quite controversial, okay? She was married to a man, had 2 sons, and then LeAnn Rimes, that country singer, that young country singer, took her man. Let me stop. Well, Brandi and her husband are divorced. LeAnn Rimes has been with him. And Brandi had a lot of controversy on Bravo. She was always kind of fussing and cussing and a bit of the outcast in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She used to be really close to Lisa Vanderpump, and they had it out. She accused Adrian Malouf. Well, she got into her fertility business and really spread some information. I'm not sure what's real and what's not, but she really essentially seemed like tried to shame her for infertility issues. That's how it seemed to me. Either way, she spread information that Malouf, whether it's true or not, did not share about herself. She did that. And then she was accused by a Real Housewife of New Jersey alum of actually SAing her, assaulting her. Yes, a woman accused her of that. What else? Brandi Glanville, my goodness. Brandi Glanville also outed Denise Richardson, who was also on that show, saying that they had a sexual encounter. You know what, Brandi? You've been in a lot of headlines, and Anyway, she's having it out with Bravo. But let's get back to the medicine of things right here on this Medical Monday, Dr. Frita Live. Brandi Glanville shares that she put garlic in her ear based on a TikTok trend and ended up having to go to the ER. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to put an ear in the chat and tell me what social media medical trend have you tried that ended up leading you down the wrong road? Have you tried to follow a social media medical trend and had a bad outcome? Heck, or a good outcome? Please tell me in the comments, and let's play this clip from Brandi.
But it was Easter and I got a piece of garlic stuck in my ear. So, because I had a little cold, Jake came over and he kept sneezing on my face. And I was like, he's like, I'm not sick anymore. And then like, cover your mouth when you sneeze. And then I got his cold. And then on Easter, I didn't do anything because of my garlic in my ear.
Oh,
I was trying to
that could
try
really
to get it out.
stuck in there and be a thing.
It really went down further. And I had to go to urgent care the next day and get it taken out. I was just trying to clear my sinuses. It's online. Don't listen to people online or TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook.
You should do a show where they're like, will Brandi try it? And it's like
No.
the things that like, you know, you go on the web for and you're like, oh, I can Google diagnose myself.
But it was Easter and I got a piece of garlic stuck in.
So now Brandi, I don't know if she's a mental giant or not, but she's a full grown woman. She's over 50. So sticking garlic in her ear. But I guess sometimes people do present certain social media trends that seem harmless. And so I'm curious to see what y'all say. Again, put an ear emoji in the chat and tell me, have you ever tried a social media medical trend that didn't work out so well? But let's just talk about what she's dealing with the sinuses. Number one, the whole point of this, I won't even go into all the details. Consult with your doctor. If you're having sinus issues, consult with your doctor. Your doctor might tell you to use nasal saline. Your doctor might tell you to use something like a Zyrtec. Your doctor might tell you to use something like a Flonase, a nasal steroid. Your doctor might tell you a million things. What they're not going to tell you is to stick garlic in your ear, because when you stick garlic in your ear or any foreign object in your ear or up your nose, then one, your body might have a reaction like irritation, increased mucus production. It can even develop an infection, or an inflammatory response. And also, as you go in and try to dig the garlic out of your ear, you might push the garlic in deeper. Okay. Same thing with the nose. If you put garlic up your nose and you go back and try to dig it out, you can just make it worse. So it's just a bad idea. And I could see myself telling this to a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old, but I'm going to tell Brandi Glanville also. And it looks like she learned her lesson. So that being said, did any of you, my lovely med heads, because I know y'all are smart, but y'all are human too, and sometimes these trends look good. Have you ever tried or heard of someone who tried a social media medical trend and it didn't turn out so well? I'm wondering. Anyone?
So none have actually.
Y'all not want to admit it. Ooh.
None have tried it. Keisha says, no, I don't do social media trends.
Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me. The fact that y'all are here, and I know this is social media, but as y'all know, I'm very open and y'all can look me up on my board certifications, my education, Meharry, Georgetown, Emory, you name it. So, but we're talking about, folks who are just up there with no credentials, no training, and telling you all things that counter doctors. So take home message, consult with your doctor. Please don't follow these social media trends because they can be dangerous. And speaking of that, we're about to get into an extremely dangerous social media trend with this next story. Looksmaxing. 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 Now, this is something that is really growing in popularity, specifically among young men. And so depending on your age group, you may not have heard of it, okay? A lot of Gen Xers haven't heard of it. A lot of millennials haven't. This is like a real big Gen Z type of a thing. And what Looksmaxing is these young men who believe that their physical appearance is the most important thing, and they will go through extreme measures in order to achieve the ideal beauty of a man. The history of it is that's believed to have started like back in the 2010s, and there was a group of men called incels, I-N-C-E-L, incels, and they say that they are involuntarily celibate because women don't find them attractive. And with that link, there's a lot of misogyny and there's a whole rabbit hole of history with that. But now there's a more evolved movement, if you want to call it that. I don't call it evolved, but we'll just say a changed movement. And it's led by this guy called Clavicular. Braden Peters is his name, I believe, but Clavicular. He's a 20-year-old kid, a 20-year-old young man, and he has like over 800,000 followers, and he shares his Looksmaxing, which are different measures to to get the perfect look. So there's soft Looksmaxing, which involves things like skincare routines, exercising, healthy diet. And then you can have more intense Looksmaxing. And this Clavicular person has shared that he's given himself steroids since he was only 14 years old. He takes certain medications to keep his hair thick. He actually does illegal substances like a DRUG that starts with an M. He microdoses himself with that one, crystal, okay? And also he'll take Adderall in order to keep his body fat down, okay? And then the most extreme thing that I've seen that he's done is something called bone smashing, okay? So let's play this clip and then we'll talk more about Looksmaxing. So make sure you talk to your sons and the young men in your life and see if any of them are familiar with this, because they should not do it. I'm sorry.
New trend, guys hitting themselves deliberately on the face with hammers and other objects. Why? They think it will give them a more chiseled, handsome look. But as Jim Murray reports, doctors are sounding the alarm.
It's a bizarre trend that's hard to believe. These young men are hitting themselves in the face with hammers, even saucepans. Get this, they think it will improve their looks. It's called Looksmaxing, and it's being promoted on social media by 20-year-old Braden Peters, a controversial influencer who calls himself Clavicular and has 800,000 followers.
You got to hit the chin hard.
He spoke his off-the-wall message on 60 Minutes Australia.
When you break down a bone, it grows back stronger. So you're intentionally creating these traumas, typically on your cheekbones, your chin.
But he walked out of that interview moments after he was asked about links between Looksmaxing and incels, guys who hate women.
How do you feel about being linked to that group?
Thanks for the time. Appreciate the interview.
I spoke with Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, Dr. Michael Zarabi.
What do you make of this trend of Looksmaxing and taking a hammer to your own face?
You can damage muscles and cause permanent muscle injury. You can even damage nerves that can result in facial weakness or even areas of numbness. And in extreme examples, you can even damage the brain and cause, for example, a concussion. So it's absolutely not the right thing to do.
Listen to what this plastic surgeon says happened to one guy who tried Looksmaxing.
A patient took a hammer, hammered it to the face, broke the bone, and the bone on the bottom of the eyeball flipped up and popped the eye, and he went blind.
Oh my gosh.
All right. You can't make this stuff up. Looksmaxing, it's a real thing. And the fact that this Clavicular has over 800,000 followers, and you see young men hitting their faces with hammers, pots, pans, kids, people, adults, men are following him. Okay. So my question to you, and I want you to put a hammer in the chat. I mean, is there a hammer emoji? Put a hammer emoji or some tool. And I want you to answer this because I'm trying to answer for myself, if I'm honest. Why do you think that extreme beauty hacks spread so quickly on social media? Okay. I'm sure these people who are doing this, beating their face with the hammer, we're not talking about everyone just being not smart. I'm sure it's a bunch of smart people doing it. Clavicular actually speaks quite well. And on the surface, sounds like he has a level of intellect, but is not very smart what he's doing. Why is it that so many people follow extreme beauty hacks on social media? You tell me so we can see what we can do to fight it. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit more about this Looksmaxing. And I'll tell you what, once you finish this live, you can check out just go look at my other social media platforms, and I will have something on this platform as well. I give you a nice little short form content where I talk about Looksmaxing, I talk about bone smashing, I talk about the dangers of bone smashing, so you can share it with the young men, teenage men, share it with women also, share it with parents so they can be aware, that it exists. But basically, this Clavicular person, because I've learned more about him than I actually cared to. And I already told you that when he was 14, he was injecting himself with testosterone. He even was online injecting his girlfriend, 17-year-old girlfriend at the time when he was younger, injecting her with fat dissolving enzymes, because the whole point of their beauty is that they want to have kind of a sunken hollow cheek. They want their cheeks to sink in, but then in hitting their faces, their cheekbones and their jaw lines and their chins with a hammer, they want to create a micro damage so that when the bones heal, they'll be thicker. And you've seen boxers who get punched in the face and on the brow ridge have these thick brows or these thick cheekbones, and so in that sense, yeah, when you have a damage to a bone, it really does come back and grow stronger than before. But what he's not perhaps realizing is you're not guaranteed an equal cosmetic look. And as was discussed in that video, you can have some potential damages, right? You can have muscle damage, nerve damage. You can get facial paralysis. The plastic surgeon was sharing how one man actually lost vision in his eye from doing it. You can get a concussion. And Clavicular even shared in one interview I saw that he will lie down and brace his head to make sure he doesn't get CTE. So he's aware that you can get brain damage from it. So logically, hello, what are you doing? And he was just in the news this past week, Clavicular, because he reportedly overdosed on a live stream. And he shared that he uses a DRUG that starts with M, like crystal and an M. And he says it just boldly that he doses it for himself, and it helps to suppress his appetite so he can keep a body fat that allows him to ascend. That's what they call it in this Looksmaxing community. As you improve your looks, you're ascending. And if you do something better than someone else, like if you look better than them, then you mog them. So you can face mog someone or frame mog someone. Like you're mogging someone if you outdo them. It's all superficial, all based on looks. So what do y'all say? Because I know I'm getting grown, because this is something that just seems so just different to me. And it's interesting as y'all go down the rabbit hole. There's a lot of race implications as well. Because I've seen some young Black men who say, who were trying to do Looksmaxing, and they get race shamed, because they're told, and this is the men, this is their story. They're told that the Black standard of beauty is not what anyone's looking for. Yes, folks are very bold, and Clavicular reportedly has used the N-word. He's been on these bro podcasts. So there's a big racial component. And I saw Clavicular do something where he was interviewing a young lady who she probably naturally had high cheekbones and a strong jawline. He pulls up a picture of a Black man who also had high cheekbones. He's like, bro, you look exactly like this man. So the masculinization of a Black woman, I can go down a big, deep hole. For any of the limit heads who came over and watching, y'all know we can go down rabbit holes, but I'm gonna come on back. But basically, Clavicular is a lot, and he has all these people following him doing things that are potentially dangerous. So why? Please tell me, mad heads, because I don't know. Why is it that for some of these extreme beauty hacks, why do they catch on so easily on social media? Anybody have the answer?
Yeah, big one that I'm seeing, Dr. Frita, repetitively is low self-esteem.
That's it. I believe that, especially when they're thinking that beauty is the only thing. Who would take a hammer to your face if you had any type of a self-esteem? Who would sit up here and microdose yourself with DRUGs and overdose, reportedly, if you have a self-esteem? Who would sit up here taking testosterone from the age of 14? Your body hasn't even developed yet, except for low self-esteem. And who would follow someone leading them down a rabbit hole of ignorance and danger? Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. I agree. So then let's talk to our sons and daughters, of course, and let's build them up and talk about character. And I know when you're in the midst of being a teenager and you're dealing with mean boys and mean girls, when someone says, oh, you got a great personality and one day it'll shine, don't nobody want to hear that. They don't. But that's why we have support, right? Mental health support, psychologists, psychiatrists if needed, because it really does boil down to what's going on the inside. Because I could just about bet money that Clavicular, with his chiseled jaw, his chiseled cheekbones, there's always going to be somebody who looks better than you by somebody's opinion. There's always going to be somebody smarter than you, funnier than you, taller than you, faster than you, in better shape than you. That's just life. And so if you don't have a good, solid self-confidence, self-esteem as a foundation, it's just not going to work. And so when someone said that Clavicular was at a club and this leader of a frat came in and frame mogged him, meaning somebody came in with a better body than he. And this is all reported, alleged, and they said that kind of sent him over. But anyway, it's just the point. If you don't have anything solid on the inside or mentally, then you can go down any path. So yes, that's the overriding thing, low self-esteem. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Miss Ebony says no positive male role models.
Okay. So having positive male role models could help. Yeah, because you're thinking if they had someone who they were looking up to, I'm sitting here thinking, if my little brother had tried some mess like that, my daddy would have been like, excuse you, and not that even a positive role model, I know kids don't always listen, but if someone is feeding into you and building into you that what's on the inside matters, yeah, it sounds cliche, but y'all know it's the truth. So that's a good one. Yeah.
Ray added a mental situation.
A mental situation, right? If you either are neurodivergent in the sense that you have a mental processing issue, okay, if it's slower for you to comprehend what's dangerous and not. Also, if you have a mental health issue where you're just really depressed and you're more vulnerable to following things. That's true.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
TS added because of the because of the polished social media, and maybe men think that some girls do different things, so why not them?
Okay, so like maybe some equality. They say girls go and do these enhancements, augmentations, lip fillers, all of that. Well, we're gonna do it too. Okay, they sure picked a bang up way to do equality in a way that's life threatening, didn't they? And again, y'all check my social media platforms. I do have this information in short form content, and as always, you share this, spread this, make sure mothers know, teens know. Real good.
Yep. Just Maya, she was like, "Oh my God, won't this happen naturally as you age?"
No. What they're looking for is they're looking for for features that aren't necessarily theirs. You see what I'm saying? So one person, Matt Bomer, I hadn't heard of him, but apparently he's the ideal beauty. I'm telling you, they go through, they tell you the most handsome pupillary distance, like the distance between your pupils, mid-face ratio, whether your eyes slant up, slant down. They've gone through and calculated the perfect looking person, which is a fallacy just on its face, because what's perfect looking for one person is not perfect looking for the other. But all these people are following folks to think there's actually one look. And this Matt Bomer apparently has the perfect clavicular size. And that's how this other guy, Braden Peters, got his name clavicular. He can tell you his body fat, his waist, his wingspan, his clavicle length, his mid-face ratio, his pupillary distance, his eye slant, all of that they can tell you. But no, they won't necessarily get those things naturally, because everyone doesn't have eyes that slant up. Everyone doesn't have chiseled cheekbones. Everyone doesn't have a strong jawline. Everyone doesn't have, 12% body fat. So no, everyone won't get those features naturally. And so, if you want to enhance yourself cosmetically and do things, I'm not judging that, but do so under the supervision of a doctor, right? Don't go and microdose yourself on DRUGs and then overdose because you want to have perfect body fat. And so, no, they're not going to all get these features naturally. And some people aren't meant to even have these features. That's why you have to work on what's on the inside. Enhance yourself externally as well. Yeah, I believe in feeling good about yourself and looking as good as you can look, but do not fool yourself into thinking that looks are the most important thing. Because one thing I could promise you, that looks will change, your body will change, your face will change, all that stuff will go away. We're not going to be popping like we were popping when we were 19 and 20. And seeing when you're 19 and 20, a lot of times you don't even have that self-esteem to know that you were popping. You don't realize you were popping until you have 3 kids and you get grown and you be like, I was popping, didn't know. Okay, I digress. My point is, nothing will take your brain away, right? Nothing will take your personality away. Nothing will take your self-esteem away once you establish it. And so that's what we need to focus on, not making a promise to people that they're going to get looks that they might never have been meant to have. Yeah. Thank you. I love when y'all participate. I love y'all med heads for being here. And to my members, my members, I definitely love you. And hey, listen, everyone can become a member. I'm thankful to all of you. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing. It's a free way to support the channel. But for the membership, if you become a member, of course, as you can see, we give you all kinds of shout outs. Your questions get priority. So members and super chats get priorities. And then depending on your level, we have a monthly live Q&A. We also have just member videos. I told y'all I posted one yesterday. I did a Sunday check-in. We have members only videos. We have all kinds of things here. So make sure you join the membership and become a part of the community. And as we slide on out of the door, I do want to share something from Kevin Hart, Funny Man, No Days Off. Let's play this clip and talk about it real quickly. Y'all make sure you give us a like.
run it? Who 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 run it? Me. Run it, run it, run it, run it, run it, run it, run it,
Okay. So Kevin Hart said that he works out pretty much 6-7 days a week, no days off. And, and he's gotten a lot of kind of feedback, some controversy, how much is too much. And really, I just brought that up for the point of, yes, I want y'all to exercise. Definitely. We talked about American Heart Association recommendations, but also make sure you consult with your doctor and that you recognize limits. Okay. Because no days off. Well, for most people, I do recommend some days off, or at least on the days off, doing something light like a yoga or light like walking. So just make sure as you go into your exercise programs and you hear celebrities saying no days off and be intense, just always make sure that you consult with your doctor and you do what's best for you. All right. I certainly thank y'all for joining us. Any member comments or anyone on the way out the door? Shador?
Yes, Dr. Frita. Yes, I want to shout out Miss Adrian for being here today. Miss Andrea, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi, Andrea. That's a big one.
Well, shout her out for being here today. And then newest member, Miss Yolanda. Thank you for joining us. She does have a question for you, Dr. Frita.
Okay.
She says, I am using Envarsus, and my doctor says there are no other anti-rejection medicine which suggests I believe Envarsus is making my kidneys worse. What do you think?
I think you need a full consult. So, of course, talk to your doctor and present your concerns, which it sounds like you have. But also, if you like a second opinion, I do offer a telehealth concierge service. In doing that, I'll be able to get your full history, okay? Your full history to understand what medications you've been on before, what your diagnosis is, what other medications you're on that could potentially interact. I would know how much water you're drinking, how much exercise you're doing. I would be able to see the trend of your EGFR. So yeah, that's something that's going to require a full conversation. So again, definitely present the question. If you ask and you don't like how it was answered, you can present it again. Or certainly I would love to see you for a second opinion. We can talk about it. Yeah.
All right. And then Miss Ebony, newest member as well.
Hey, thank you, Miss Ebony.
She wants to know, by your question, have you heard of Hashimoto's or MTHFR putting a patient at risk of high blood pressure or high cholesterol or other stroke risk symptoms? And can she come see you for this? Be a Hashimoto patient.
So we can talk again on that telehealth concierge if you put that up. Excuse me. See how when you cover your mouth, cover your arm. Don't do it on your hands. Anyway, but yeah, definitely. So the short answer is yes. And we can go into detail, but Hashimoto's is one of those interesting things. So that is inflammation of the thyroid, typically an autoimmune inflammation. And we think about Hashimoto's as causing low thyroid function, but in some people you can have antibodies that can cause an upregulation of the activity in your thyroid, giving you a hyperthyroid. And sometimes those same antibodies can come back and cause a decrease in your thyroid function. And yes, Hashimoto's actually can put you at increase for high blood pressure, strokes, all of those things. But yeah, that definitely would require a detailed conversation. Yeah. And then even if you are a member at the chief resident level, I give medical information, okay, unless you actually have done a consultation where I get everything. I don't call it advice. In general, like what I give you here is medical information. You consult with your doctor. But on our live medical Q&As, I give you lots of medical information. We can go into more detail and you have a chance to give me more information among the members. So it wouldn't be totally HIPAA on live Q&A because other people are there, but it is a more intimate setting where you might feel more comfortable giving me specific details about you. We have those on the last Monday of every month.
Yep, it should be next Monday, Dr. Frita, correct? It should be next Monday. Our next.
Is that the last Monday in April?
It is.
Shoot, that's the 27th. Yeah, the live Q&A is next Monday. So for those of y'all, these detailed questions, come to a concierge if you want a one-on-one where we'll have complete privacy. If you're comfortable with the other members of that level talking about it, y'all come on and I'll answer you on the live Q&A. Yeah, to a degree, because it's not a full H&P, but I'll definitely be able to give you more information. All right. Well, I certainly thank you. Y'all participated so much. Okay. So again, make sure you give us a like, give us a subscribe, check out videos. I have an exciting video coming up for you this week. We'll talk about urine, what your urine color is desperately trying to tell you about your kidney function. I'm so excited about this video. So you'll get a chance to check that out. So make sure, again, follow me on all social media platforms. I was on Don Lemon this morning. We'll post something. When you go to my playlist, television appearances, oftentimes I'll have these different appearances that I do. And also just check us out on 2:00. I think Don Lemon, we had another conversation offline that I think he's going to put up at 2:00 today, but we'll talk about that. And yeah, so we covered a lot of things. Make sure, again, you click and join the podcast. Give us a 5-star, please. Purchase my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. And again, I have a special surprise coming up for this book by next week, no later. I'll be able to announce that surprise. Also, make sure you download the PDF, 10 Healthy Habits for a Better You and a Better Life. That's a free PDF that we have, and be a member. It's fun in the membership community. All right. Appreciate y'all. Shador, my wonderful co-host. I always appreciate you. I appreciate y'all for being with us on Dr. Frita Live, where we discuss the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. And as always, thank you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week.